You're listening to a podcast from thespoilist.com. Welcome to First Contact. Shake vigorously before use. I'm Andrew.
I'm James.
And I'm Alex.
This time we have been watching Man of the People. It was written by Frank Abetamarco and directed by Winrick Colby. It first aired the week of 5th of October 1992. James, what happens in this one?
The Enterprise transports Ambassador Alkar and his elderly mother to a mediation on a warring planet. The man is clearly a bit sinister, and so Troi is obviously drawn to him, so he can do something nefarious to her. That's really just her role in this show. After his mother dies, he performs a ceremony with Troi, and after that, she just camps her up and puts on some fabulous outfits. But she's also aging rapidly and sleeping with younger crew members like she's Riker. It turns out that he's such a good negotiator because he channels all his negative emotions into women, and that makes them age for some reason. The best way to stop him is to kill Troi, and everyone seems fine with that. And before he can perform the ritual on a new woman, Troi is resuscitated, and he starts to age like he drank from the wrong grail cup, but much cheaper. And then Troi gets young again, and everyone is relieved, because older women don't belong in the workplace.
Wow, that's pretty harsh words there, James. I don't agree with that at all.
Not my words. Star Trek The Next Generation is here to teach us lessons that we can take in our lives. And, last week it was you should get over your fears. This week it's older women don't belong at the workplace.
Good. Wait, everyone. I've got a joke. Alex, you've never seen this episode before. What did you think of 50 Shades of Dorian Gray? I can hear the laughter from all the listeners. That's good stuff. This is gold.
Well, last night I watched the episode. I then was at the recording of a TV show in a theatre, and it wasn't very good. But there was a moment when there was stuff that fluttered down from the ceiling, and it turned out it was like prize tickets. And I checked the one that I had, and it said that I'd won £300,000. And I was going through the thoughts of, oh, fantastic! That's really like Christmas sorted. That's all bills paid, and then the crushing disappointment of waking up and realizing that was absolute bollocks. Also, the disappointment of waking up to find that I'd slept so awkwardly that I'd twisted my neck that I couldn't turn it to the right without severe pain. And that was the summation of my evening. All of which I think was vastly preferable to this dog shit.
Just before rewatching Man of the People last night, I watched the famously hated last episode of Dexter. And I'd never seen it before. And it's actually written by a Star Trek writer, Manny Koto. And it really does put things into perspective when you watch Man of the People and you realise just how much worse television can get.
These are harsh and strong words.
Is it our modern sensibility, or has this always been viewed as shit? Just from an objective outsider's opinion, I'm just interested to know.
I had no memory of this episode whatsoever. It took me by surprise that there is an episode this bad. We all know about the ghost episode in Season 7. We all know about the racist episode in Season 1. We all know about the sexist episode in Season 1. And we know about the clip show. But I think this is alongside those. It's that bad. In fact, at one point I was thinking this could be the absolute worst episode. The ending kind of redeems it into being maybe fifth worst.
There are multiple factors if you would like to take anything into account. So, as you may know, there is an episode coming up featuring an original series cast member, and their availability changed, because they were very busy on TV at the time, and they were not available for this filming block. So they had to basically come up with an episode a lot earlier than they needed to.
How was he busy? How? I'm sorry, not to mock James Doohan, but he was doing terrible B movies at the time.
There is also comments by the writers which very much throw the show's credited writer under the bus. Jerry Taylor said, Frank was a seasoned veteran, but it wasn't a fair introduction for him. It remained for his later work for everybody to realise that perhaps this wasn't for him. Brandon Braga said, I would have done it differently. I would have made it darker and much more a story about Troy's dark descent from a psychological point of view. Ultimately, Frank was the writer and he was given the opportunity to do it the way he wanted to, and it suffered because he was new to the show. So, I think there is perhaps some mitigating factors. It was a writer who hadn't worked on Star Trek before, but everybody chipped into this. So it was, I believe they call it gang banging on Star Trek The Next Generation, where lots of different writers took a section of script and then turned it over to the primary writer to try and tie it together.
Did that term come from Gene?
Well, the last episode I remember being written in that way was Yesterday's Enterprise. So Gene was still around then.
However, I think the primary problem with it, maybe not the primary problem, but certainly one of the bigger problems is, does it not just feel like we've seen all of this before?
Anytime there's a Troi-centric episode.
Anytime there's a Troi-centric episode, there is usually an ambassador who turns out to be bad and he does something absolutely horrible to her, whether that's some kind of mind rape or just damaging her psychologically in some way. And this just is the absolute nadir of it. I mean, the guy who was putting people in comas, you're just like, well, he looks quite like him. That's quite similar to that. The other one who was the empath, who was manipulating people in the price. I mean, it's all very familiar, and it's just so unimaginative. The very fact that all they can think to do with Troi is, oh, there's a man and let's have him torment and abuse her. Great, that's us sorted. We'll get an episode out of that. It really does speak to just a lack of imagination, a lack of sensitivity, that they keep treating the character this way. I'm not saying she's a good character, but I really think that she deserved better.
I mean, it's not only lacking imagination, like lacking originality. All of the elements of this episode have been done before. We've had a character age rapidly. We've had Troi fall in love with somebody who turns out to be evil. We've had a negotiator trying to negotiate peace but being a bit of a wrong one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And in fact, even the ending with him aging rapidly, that happens in season 1, doesn't it, with the Admiral?
Too short a season.
Yeah.
And yeah, clearly it's a kind of rip-off of an Indiana Jones type scene with the aging rapidly. It all feels highly derivative and just not played in a particularly interesting way.
But there's no mystery at all. We know what's happening from pretty much the opening scene. It's not subtle. And there's no twist. If you're going to do something that's obvious, put a twist on it, make it so that it's actually somebody else who's manipulating events, maybe his elderly mother, who's not actually his mother.
It is played incredibly straight and right down to the stakes. There's this warring planet. How many people might die? I don't care. I'm not involved in this particular story. There's some level of texture to it. It starts with the distress call. You get to build that up. The ship's being attacked, or you can't be on board a Federation transport. So it's not being transported as standard. But is that just filling time? Then he comes on board and he's intriguing. And I think that's the thing that always gets me. It's just like, he's clearly evil and he kind of plays it as evil. And you've got the sinister sort of, I guess the mother character is almost like the soothsayer that don't go into the woods, kids, the older character who gives the warning. And okay, this is where this is going.
And then it's that for 40 minutes. It just never goes in any other direction.
Yes, you know she's been manipulated and then she starts acting strangely. I'll be honest, the actual section where she is acting out of character and getting older. I was surprised how quickly that went. It's quite a small chunk of the episode. I don't know what to say. What do you think of Marina Sirtis in terms of her performance here? Convincing, good, doesn't really have anything to work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think she probably does as good a job as she can with what she's given. I don't really know where else she can take it. I mean, it is what's on the page, ultimately. I think the problem really starts and ends with the page. It's a heavy topic. Heavy topics shouldn't be off the table for Trek, but sometimes it doesn't handle them well, and especially these sort of stories relating to abuse, it often badly misfires. I almost find it difficult. If you were to say to me, what's the offensive thing in the episode, I'd almost struggle to pinpoint, because it's not like we're elevating the ambassador. He's obviously the wrong un, and it is being shown that other people are being manipulated. We are being led to have our feelings in the right direction. I just think it's done with a supreme lack of tact. And actually some of that is in costuming as well.
The HD remaster has not helped the costumes.
No.
Particularly one of Troi's, I think.
What, the incredibly see-through one?
Yeah.
Didn't expect that. It's 6 o'clock on BBC Two, did you? I mean, on that, Marina Sirtis said, I played it like these were underlying parts of Troi that she controlled or managed to suppress. And just looking in the mirror was all I needed to change. In the scene in 10 Forward, where my hair was up, I saw Anne Bancroft in the mirror, saw Mrs. Robinson, and that's what I played. Basically, a lot of the performance is governed by the way one looks. I look in the mirror and play whatever I see in the mirror, especially when it's a make-up thing like in Man of the People, where the old person was a witch, and that's who I was in the mirror, so I played a witch. I mean, it's quite a Route 1 approach, but...
I take back my crediting of Marina Sirtis.
There's little hints, I think, of perhaps the episode that might have been when she's alone in the room doing her Tai Chi. Or if she's the Tai Chi class, everyone. And she's looking in the mirror, and you have all the shots of all the mirrors reflecting back in each other. That feels very much like a sort of a giallo shot, you know, like a proper dirty horror movie. There's something about looking in the reflection and not quite recognising it. But then it's maybe a little seedy, you know, she just keeps touching her chest.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's the sort of stuff that's most interesting to me. I love the counselling session where she's awful. But then again, is that different to how she normally acts in counselling sessions? I think that's fun. I think it all is too quick. Like, I would like it to be just little hints. You know, she is still Troi, but then she starts acting a little bit off. But because there's no mystery, you know she's been manipulated. It's like, yeah, well, she's not quite herself now.
The reactions of the rest of the crew to that are irritating as a result as well. Like, she comes in and breaks the meeting later, and yes, Riker sort of pulls her aside and goes, what are you doing? What has gotten into you? And yes, absolutely. I mean, I would think that's probably enough of a cause, enough for concern to be escalating that fairly higher, because that's clearly not the same person. And yet, as we get in these kind of episodes, the stupidity virus goes through the rest of the crew, and it's, well, she's acting a bit out of character. Yes. Certainly keep an eye on that.
It does feel like a throwback.
Yeah. I mean, it's not helped as well with the speed that it goes at. It does feel that it then sort of lurches into a sort of stereotypical impression of, oh, look, she's become histrionic and sex crazed, and you know, it feels like that sort of sexist trope. It's really not helped by the speed that they move through that. It's also not helped by some of the other scenes, like you say, with her in her quarters.
And I guess Troi is such a one-dimensional character in many ways, so it's difficult. Like even in that first evaluation scene, I'm going to treat myself with 2 chocolate sundaes. Jesus Christ, is that all you've got? Is that it? I'm going to make myself sick because I don't like doing my job. It showcases a bit of a weakness in the writing and a weakness in the characters. Also, I guess towards the end, and I'm not sure how else you would do it, the fact that he just comes out and says what he's doing to the captain of the Federation flagship. Yeah, actually, I channel my negative feelings. And let's get into that a little bit. Are most of his negative feelings horniness? So I don't get distracted and start looking up Pornhub while I'm doing negotiations.
The holodeck is just interactive porn, or at least it's been used that way. And I mean, not explicitly, but quite clearly.
Everybody just walks in on you on the holodeck, though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who would feel comfortable doing that.
I mean, I assume
sure
you can lock the door.
door.
I suppose it's easy for clean-up, it's all flat surfaces. White, clean linoleum floor.
I know none of you have watched this, but this is genuinely a plot point in Star Trek Lower Decks, where they have to clean out the biofilters of the holodeck and remove the fluids. So,
I never thought that the holodecks on the Enterprise would allow that type of thing. It's a family ship. That's why on Deep Space Nine, that's where they have all the CD programs.
The Enterprise does feel like that, but also the crew of the Enterprise feel fairly sexless as well. They'd much rather be doing community theatre. Or maybe that's why there's so many different classes on board, because everybody's quite frustrated.
Yes, we're subjected to another one of those at the start of this episode, aren't we? Everything has that sort of Sunday morning at the leisure centre feeling. All of that activity. Or if it's not that, it's the sort of prize at the end of the Crystal Maze. A weekend's abseiling in Milton Keynes.
Or maybe a fancy retirement home.
Going back a second, what you were saying before about the channeling of the emotions, I think that is actually probably quite a core part of where things feel like they go wrong. Because you're right, what is he channeling negative? It does just seem to be horniness. And actually, if what she was projecting was something other than said horniness, it would help you believe that, and it would help not just make this another mental sexual abuse episode. I guess to a degree you can argue there's a bit of anger, but I mean, the anger is only ever there as a result of, oh, isn't she jealous? It's all very male gazy, and I get that the defense would be, well, yes, it is male gazy because he's an abhorrent guy and it's what he's implanting on her. But yeah, the fact that's it, that's the sum total of what's being projected, really doesn't help matters.
I mean, it would have solved a lot of problems if he just had a cold shower instead.
Yeah, and I guess that's the metaphor, isn't it? That's going on there, where you've got the person in the relationship with the toxic person becomes toxic themselves, and their friends don't recognize them anymore.
It's a bit victim blamey, isn't it? There's so many things that you could say could hinder someone in a negotiation. I mean, imagine if it was something just like, I don't know, some detail like a stutter or something that wouldn't have the other connotations, but that is a clear thing that could be shown on another person.
So you want this entire episode to be the same, but Troi should have had a stutter.
A really big distracting warp.
But is that physical toll then? Like the aging? Or is it a Dorian Gray thing, which the writers have mentioned as a reference? The ship is called the USS Dorian at the start as well. So is he meant to be really old? Is he meant to be using these people to keep him young? Or is it just that he's using it to keep his mind clear?
I just took it that it's the toll of those negative emotions ages you, like the average Reform voter in the UK. But it's certainly not clear.
I think it's not great the way that it's done, because actually what you want to do is, if Troi is changed in some way, you want her to reflect on lots of different crew members. And really the only person she interacts with is the woman she's giving a counselling session to, who is insecure, and she tells her to buck up, which is basically what she did to Barclay last week, and the young ensign who she sleeps with, and Riker. But you surely want a scene with Beverly, you want a scene with Picard, you want a scene with Data, where you can observe the changes through her interactions with the other regular characters, rather than it just being these very isolated circumstances that you don't necessarily understand, and it becomes fairly sexual, especially with Riker, and that connotation's always there anyway. But it's very recognisable that she's changed, but it just feels a little underwritten in that way, until Picard at the end, she tries to murder him for plot reasons. I quite like Patrick Stewart in this. I think that scene, like how much he cares about his crew and his concern, letting Dr. Crusher do an autopsy. She's very keen to do an autopsy. It's just like, oh, I never got a corpse round here. Let me do an autopsy. Go on. Oh, all my problems could be solved if I could just do an autopsy.
Yeah, I liked that little bit of the back and forth and the, well, yes, go ahead and do it. Yeah, that was a rare oasis in a bitter, desolate wasteland, wasn't it?
I think the last kind of 10 minutes of the episode, it becomes kind of generic Star Trek, but at least it moves away from everything it was before. And that's why it improves that little bit at the end. I don't mind generic Star Trek.
Yeah, thank God for a bit of diplomatic procedures.
Well, exactly. That's interesting compared with Troi just acting like Kirk in Turnabout Intruder.
Well, I mean, there is a good argument there, isn't there, that the initial 35 minutes of this are quite TOS, and then the final 10 minutes are much more TNG. Probably one of the episodes that's more like that we've had in quite some time. I mean, when was the last time we had an episode that just came across as so fundamentally misjudged?
I mean, for us, probably about 7 years ago, but that was just last season.
But I mean, we certainly had them in Series 2. Have we had them since? I mean, we must have done. I'm pretty sure that we have done, and they have been Troi episodes.
Yeah, I guess so. But this one does feel particularly egregious. I think it's really not great.
And again, I know we said it before, but again, it is made so much worse by their choice. I get that the reason they're doing it is because of, well, the given reason is the empath element, and therefore that's the natural character to go with. But literally any other character would change the dynamic at least a little bit, just because you haven't the weight of the prior episodes. With Troi, when there are Troi-centric episodes, we tend to get one of two things. We get this, or we get, oh, my mother, eh? I can't think of another one off the top of my head that doesn't fall into one of those two categories. And genuine, even if this was, say, with Crusher, it's still not going to be great, but at least it would alleviate some of that element that just feels quite uncomfortable about this because of the weight of what's been before.
What I will say is, I thought the makeup was quite good.
Except she still had grey hair before the end. There was the final transformation back to being young, but she still had grey hair, and then they cut away and then cut back, and then it was no longer grey. Is that in the Nitpicker's Guide?
I mean, that morph, I thought that was all right. That was pretty good. They couldn't do the full morph. Star Trek has a long history of doing aging makeup, and I thought this one was pretty good. The key is not looking too much like a puppet.
Yeah. Yes, at least she didn't turn into a crusty sock.
That would have been a better episode.
I don't know, the connotations that would come from that. I think it's already quite offensive in places.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else to say?
Only, is this the last one that we have? No, I mean, because we're sort of, I know there's still quite a lot of episodes to go, but we're sort of in the home stretch in terms of seasons. Is this the last sort of point of something egregiously wrong?
I mean, there's another very hated episode.
Oh, good.
But that's hated because it's got a ghost in.
Oh, right. Well, that's not...
I think there's more to that one, and we will get to that by 2030.
I think hated and offensive are two fairly different characters there.
I don't think there's an offensive episode off the top of my head.
I will say this, in the next run of episodes, starting with Relics, we're on quite a good run of fun episodes.
I only ask because this does kind of stand out among recent company.
We're just going to talk about a couple more things, not a lot, in Quickfire. So in defence of the script, Renée Echevarria said, "It was a surprisingly good draft considering 5 different people wrote it. Some shows always do that." And the director, Winner Kobe, said, "I'm very happy with it. There are obviously some problems with the script, but what intrigues me is that I took a script that had problems and came out with a damn good show." Well, a little bit of self-praise there. Marina was really terrific. She knew it was her show and was prepared for it. I think the only thing that I occasionally did was push her a little bit harder to be a vamp.
Frank Abatamarco, the credited writer, would only go on to be credited on one more episode, Chain of Command Part 2, which is a much better received episode. In fact, you might call it an iconic Next Generation episode.
Unfortunately, there's nothing really in the Nitpicker's Guide this time round, other than Phil Farrand referring to Troi as a psychic waste receptacle. Which, you know, I mean, in the context of the episode, I suppose accurate, and yet it still manages to really sound quite unpleasant.
This is one of the few episodes where the vertical blinds in Dr. Crusher's office and sickbay are opened, and a corridor can be seen behind the window. In Encounter at Farpoint, a starfield can be seen out the window. So I guess what we want to discuss here is, has Dr. Crusher's office moved? And if so, why? Or have they built an extra bit onto the hull of the ship?
What, like an extension?
Yeah, just a little extension.
A little conservatory.
Exactly. Maybe they put the arboretum there. I don't know. And it's nice that she can open her blinds and go, "Oh, I can see the corridor now." Seems a little odd, to be honest. I'm not sure I'd want my confidential medical files being in that office. Just walking past, see her doing an autopsy at her desk.
Troi's evening dress was sold on eBay in 2008.
Oh, God.
And it sold for the princely sum of $818.78.
That's, of course, lost value since then with all the stains on it.
Well, it does say that the item has a few small holes due to time and storage, but it is very good condition, which is impressive considering its age and how fragile the dress is.
I just can't shake the feeling that dress has seen things worse than a Vietnam veteran.
Lucy Boyer plays Ensign Janeway, the first mention of a Janeway in Star Trek, which is nice. Well, thank you once again for listening to us prattle on about something we didn't enjoy. We will be back again next time with something that we will definitely enjoy. It's Relics, so we hope you will come back for that. I'd like you to do some research on a Dyson sphere. Until then, goodbye.
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 Imagine if a reform voter mind linked with you and spewed all those thoughts over to you. It's aging rapidly and your face turned red.
The reason that Zach Polanski comes across as such an eminently reasonable man is that he's been channeling all of his negative emotions into GB News. Mike Graham is little more than a withered husk. Though, of course, that was true prior to the channeling.
First Contact was good before it went woke.